Welcome into week number 2. In this week, the focus is really going to be on sampling. But before we get to that, just a couple of final points about the digital audio workstation. So by now, you should have picked out a DAW that you think is going to be right for you. And I hope that you already have a good understanding on the transport controls, all of these sort of things up here. You know how to create audio tracks, you know how to create instrument tracks, and also that you have a fairly good idea of the audio editing capabilities inside of your program. I will be going over some of them, but not really in specifics, because everything that I'm referencing, I'm just going to assume that you know how to do the equivalent inside of your program, and instead I'll be focusing on specifically the sort of sampling aspect of it, not so much, okay, this is going to allow me to select a certain amount of space and I can do blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're going to be going over here, because a lot of that's already been covered in the first course, and you should be able to get the answers to those questions inside of your manual or on the internet very easily. So I wanted to make one final DAW comparison before we begin, because I think it's a really good comparison specifically for this course. And you might have actually heard this one before. It's fairly common. I would credit whoever the first person was to come up with this, but I don't know who that was. So a great comparison of the DAW is that the DAW is a lot like your kitchen. So inside of your kitchen, you have your refrigerator, you have your freezer, you have your stove, your oven, maybe you have a microwave, you have all of your different knives and different cooking tools and utilities that you're going to need in order to make a dish. But what you also need are ingredients. So where the DAW is a lot like the kitchen, the pantry and all of the ingredients are what I would say are going to be your samples and your plugins that you can choose from. So you need that DAW. You can't just serve somebody a raw chicken. You need to cook it, you need to prepare it, and there's all sorts of different ways you could prepare that chicken to be ready to be eaten and served. And in the computer making music, it's much the same way. You know, you can have that one sample, you can have that ingredient, but you can process it and do all sorts of different things, and at the end, you hope that you come up with a final track that really kind of works. In a program like this, you can see that we have just a full pantry right from the get-go, which is why we're not starting with everything. We have 62 different devices we can choose from. We have over 6,400 samples, and this all comes just shipped with this program. So if you throw everything at your first song, all of the different samples, all of the different devices, you're probably going to end up with a big mess. A really great chef and a really great music producer or artist is somebody who knows how to kind of pick and choose things carefully in order to make that song. But that takes a long time. That doesn't just happen immediately. When you have all this access to all these different things, you're just going to want to pick everything because you think more is going to be better. And in some cases that can work. In some cases it can go horribly wrong. So what we're doing is kind of imagining that we have, first of all, this empty kitchen. That's what we're looking at here. And then we also have an empty pantry as well, which we're going to be adding onto and onto throughout the course so that you can hopefully make some music that you want to make. So without further ado, let's jump in to week number 2.